I know that there's listeners who identify with this. You know, because you wrote a book about it, and I'm sure it's going to do tremendously well. And I'm feeling it because there's so much overlap in like my life personally. Not to make it about me, but I think there's I've been saying now for last probably 2 years where you make enough money and you realize money only solves money problems, and most real big problems are not money problems. Money don't solve the real big hard stuff. And the problem of identity, I just did this video with a guy yesterday who's he's a master woodworker now, but him and I were in the military. And the people who leave the military, as David will tell you, when you leave, you have a big identity problem because the military gives you, and most of our listeners are military, as you could probably imagine. The military gives you an identity, a real good one, a purpose, a place in it, a job, everything, and then you get out and you're like, wait, now nobody cares about my rank or my, what I'm supposedly, I'm a Green Beret or whatever. Like nobody cares. And so, the trajectory I had is got out of the military and then I started making a little bit of money. And then I realized that the money really doesn't bring me satisfaction. And it really is, there's an identity problem there. And it's much harder to work out because I, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's easier to sell books about how to make money than it is to sell books about, philosophy, which is what, you know, is it's sort of, I don't want to say it's more valuable, but it's valuable in a very different way.
So money is the easy part. And I hate to say this because we spend a lot of time teaching people how to deal with money. It may take a lot of time and you might have to put a lot of energy to it, but you can work your way through how I make more money. I can get a raise, I can side hustle, I can change jobs, I can get an advanced degree. Like we can work our way through that. And so we love to go for those kind of things because it's low hanging fruit. Our brains don't stumble on that, but our brains do stumble on identity and purpose. And I love that you brought up coming out of the military because for me, leaving medicine was probably very similar for you guys leaving the military. It was an identity that became such a part of who I was. I understood the traditions. I understood the rituals. I understood what I was supposed to do with myself, but they weren't making me happy. And so I had to step away. And I imagine anyone leaving the military after that's gotten ingrained into their soul, they may say that I don't want to spend the rest of my life in the military, but it's also the only identity they know. And there's this disconnect, right? And this is why, as you said, Alex, money is the easy part. We know the way forward when it comes to making money, but ask someone, how do you figure out your identity and purpose, especially someone who's never put any time or thought into it? And they'll look at you blankly. One thing I've kind of learned in part of my journey is I did it all wrong. I went after the money first. When I realized that my identity and purpose weren't being filled in medicine, I kind of tried to get the money thing in order. And I'm like, once the money thing is in order, I'll be happy. What I'm really trying to convince people is actually you got to figure out the identity and purpose first and then build the financial framework. And if you start building a financial framework after you have a sense of identity and purpose, the answers become really clear. It stops being about, oh, I need to retire in this number of years. It becomes more like, I'm doing this job right now I don't love. I need to make this certain amount of salary to live, but maybe I can take that extra 10% and start doing something I really want to do in between. And then maybe as I get successful at that and maybe make a little money at it, I can start doing 20% or 30% of my time doing that stuff of identity and purpose and start cutting back at the work-related activities that we don't love. So again, it's putting our finances in order based on identity and purpose, as opposed to trying to get our finances in order so one day we can think of identity and purpose.
I love this. We just launched an episode a couple weeks ago with Mike McCarthy, one of the founders of GoBundance, and about talking about giving back. And one of the things that we hit on, and I think we've hit on this in 2 or 3 podcasts recently, because Alex and I have been having a lot of conversations about this, but the amount of people who get to wealth and realize that they dropped every other plate that was spinning on the way. And they're like, well, now I gained a ton of weight when I got out of the military. Now there were some medical reasons for part of that, but there was a whole lot of stress and whatever reason.
Nobody noticed, David. Nobody noticed. Don't worry.
Thanks for detracting from the moment. But there were a lot of plates that I dropped, right, in the pursuit of financial freedom. And then I've achieved financial freedom. And over the last 3 months, what I've been focused on is how can I cut out the things that make me money that don't fulfill me in order to focus on the things that still make me money but fulfill me, even if it's less money. Like, I just want to enjoy it again. I've been joking online for months now that I'm trying to relearn how to have fun again. And it's hard.
Can I add? Oh, sorry. Can I just add one more piece to that? Because I think that there's two pieces of this puzzle. As one of them is like David said, is people get so engrossed in making money that they let the rest of their life sort of they let it fall to the wayside. Another part that I see is people who they find out how to make money and then they glue themselves to it because they don't know what else to do with their time. And they don't have, sometimes they don't have the courage. Sometimes they just don't have the exposure to go off and do things that are meaningful. So they're like, well, I built this business and, my marriage is okay and everything, but I'm still unfulfilled. And it's because they it's not actually their purpose to go off and make money. That maybe they're like you, a communicator or a creator or something else. And so I just wanted to add, because there's a couple of different ways that this problem manifests.